Oh, yeah, you fucking called it, you piece of shit! Fuck you!
Oh, please, for the love of God. Fuck you game! Fuck you!
FromSoftware. Why do we play their games when they make us react like this? Well, because of reasons like this.
I started something completely new in my life. A new way of carrying myself and viewing obstacles. I could quit because it's too hard, or I could push through it and get that reward of doing something difficult. I noticed myself eating better, working out more, drinking less, being more willing to take on challenges at my job. Everything Dark Souls taught me without realizing.
How was this? How is this fair? I thought to myself. How is anything in life fair? Unfair things happen to us all the time, or maybe that's just something we tell ourselves to avoid taking any blame or responsibility. Just because something's unfair, does that mean we should just give up? What's stopping us from using all the tools we have at our disposal to beat whatever situation we're in?
Well, in short, I would say that the revelation that occurred after my last suicide attempt regarding my views on life and death were enforced by the way Dark Souls tackles the very same ideas. Dark Souls came into my life just at the right time, and I would argue minimised the very prevalent risk of relapse that comes from a traumatic experience such as suicide.
Time where I was super depressed and I didn't have any direction, and all my friends that I had were in college and I was barely making any money, and as kind of stupid as it sounds, it made me feel like I had some sense of purpose of the second that I got sucked into the game. After I realized the map looped back to Firelink Shrine, I like knew that I had to beat the game. Like I knew that I had to see it through, and not just because it was like, oh, it's fun, or it's an escape, which it was both of those.
How does FromSoftware seem to thrive in a video game market saturated by microtransactions and low-effort video games made by developers hoping to suck the money out of consumers? Throughout FromSoftware's legacy, they have refused to conform to the mainstream standards, opting for more compelling, obscure narratives and treating players like they actually have a brain. So, in this video, I want to show the history of FromSoftware and how they managed to retain a loyal fan base. FromSoftware sets a precedent for what current and upcoming game developers should strive for. Although I might not be able to cover every detail behind FromSoftware, I will direct you to Cryvel's channel that goes more in depth, so you can go down that FromSoftware rabbit hole if you're interested. I wanted this video to be concise, mainly because I'm a college student and I don't have a lot of time to make it, and I want you as viewers to come out with general knowledge of FromSoftware's history and the impact they have made on gamers all around the world. So, without further ado, sit back and enjoy, and let's get started. Let's head back in time to 1986. FromSoftware Inc. is established. They're a company primarily focused on business application software. Wait, what? They didn't start out as video game developers? Well, yes, dear viewer, they didn't. Actually, a lot of notable video game developers didn't. To name a few, Sega, Namco, Midway Games, and even Nintendo. I'm not risking it. After 8 years, they would completely pivot their company to video games, and in 1994 they would develop their first real game, Kingsfield, an action role-playing game set in the first-person perspective. Many would consider this title to be groundbreaking in the role-playing genre, and would later influence FromSoftware's later work. This game laid the foundations for their success and highlighted their need to make their games more challenging. Although this game would go under the radar, it remained a cult classic amongst the Japanese audience. Moving on from Kingsfield, in 1997, they would launch one of their biggest franchises, Armored Core. These mech games would establish FromSoftware's ability to experiment with different genres and gameplay styles. The franchise was so successful that it spanned across 13 main games, 7 spin-offs, and even 3 remastered re-releases, with its most recent release, Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, which modernized the Armored Core formula. Speaking of exploring genres, FromSoftware developed even nicher titles like Echo Knight, which is a first-person horror adventure series, or Tenchu, a stealth action game. Although Echo Knight would perform lower in terms of sales figures, Tenchu saw moderate success, resulting in subsequent sequels. Well, so far, FromSoftware isn't doing too great in terms of major successes in the West, but that will soon change. Wait, what is that? Demon's Souls, released in 2009, was one of FromSoftware's more remarkable breakthrough projects. It laid the foundations for the Souls formula, seamlessly blending punishing, skill-based combat with minimalistic storytelling and intuitive asynchronous online multiplayer. Following Demon's Souls, FromSoftware would go on to develop one of the most notorious video games of all time, Dark Souls, released in 2011, a game that would refine the Souls formula by implementing intricately interconnected, non-linear world design. It would birth the Souls-like subgenre, leading to one of the greatest gaming trilogies ever released. Releasing in 2014, Dark Souls 2 would follow. However, FromSoftware's lead developer, Hidetaka Miyazaki, would take a hiatus to work on other projects. Instead, Tomohiro Shibuya and Yue Tanamura served as the directors for this project, but unfortunately Dark Souls 2 wasn't as well received as the first installment. Would the game have been better with Hidetaka Miyazaki as the lead? We're really not sure. He did serve as a supervisor for the game, so he did have some creative input. However, I think the initial hatred for the game is unnecessary, and DS2, I think, was a solid entry for the series. It not only expanded on the lore of Dark Souls, but also implemented innovative gameplay mechanics such as power stancing that would be prevalent in a later FromSoftware title. Releasing in 2016, Hidetaka Miyazaki would come back to work on the latest and last installment of the Dark Souls franchise, Dark Souls 3. DS3 would become one of FromSoftware's most popular titles and was personally my first introduction to FromSoftware. This title would produce some of the most infamous bosses in video game history, such as the Lord of Cinder, Dancer of Boreal Valley, Dark Eater Midir, Champion Gundyr, the Abyss Watchers, Pontiff Sullivan, and my personal favorite, the Nameless King. This game holds a lot of sentimental value to me and plunged me into FromSoftware's incredible catalog of games. Backing up to 2015, do you remember when Hidetaka Miyazaki was working on another project? Well, that project was none other than Bloodborne, which deviated from their usual formula of dark fantasy RPGs to a gothic, Lovecraftian-inspired horror setting, while amping up the speed of combat and showing that they can produce deeply intricate lore differing from Dark Souls. I just wish they would remaster the damn thing and release it on PC, but you can't win them all. In 2018, FromSoftware would then release Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, my top 3 favorites of FromSoftware. Set in a war-torn Japan, this game, like Bloodborne, would highly deviate from FromSoftware's usual gameplay formula, and instead develop one of the best combat systems in all of gaming. Sekiro's combat is centered around parry mechanics and force players to get aggressive instead of them waiting for their moment of opportunity to deal damage like in the Dark Souls trilogy. Sekiro, like many FromSoftware titles, featured breathtaking visuals that looked like they were ripped straight out of a painting. Both of these games, as well as Armored Core, show that FromSoftware is capable of evolving its core gameplay mechanics while maintaining its signature difficulty and atmosphere. Now that we've sort of almost caught up to the present, it's time to go over one of the holy grails of gaming, a true masterpiece in every sense of the word. Some would call it the Mona Lisa of gaming, or Beethoven's Fifth Symphony of gaming. It's Elden Ring. This game is possibly FromSoftware's magnum opus, and for good reason since it won Game of the Year in 2022.
And say that I think I want to nominate this award to my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton. Thank you, everybody.
All the work that they put into perfecting the Souls formula finally paid off in a massive, cohesive, open-world format that would put the average Ubisoft game to shame. I believe that this game really cements FromSoftware as one of the greats. And just a cherry on top, FromSoftware released earlier this year a co-op survival spin-off, Elden Ring Night Rain, which is just as fun, as long as you have friends to play with. Anyways, FromSoftware stands as one of the greats of gaming and puts other AAA developers to shame. Their games have greatly inspired many to push past their own limits and achieve what they thought was impossible. And for me personally, FromSoftware games have helped me through difficult times, and I'll always keep coming back to support what they do next. With all that being said and done, I think that wraps up our video for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.